Hi folks, Don Bailey. Continuation of our business side. Remember we talked about the spreadsheet in our last video? Well, we're going to zero in on each one of these for the next 4 or 5 videos. We're going to talk about each one. Today I want to talk about, you want to go into business for yourself, maybe you've already started, and maybe you need to go borrow some money. Well, one of the things you don't want to do is go to a relative and borrow the money. I mean, Glenn, you ever tried to do that?
Oh, yeah.
By the way, that's Glenn Wilson. We're going to show you Glenn. Glenn comes out like this a lot. Anyway, so you borrow money from relatives or try to. Excuse me. Hello? Oh. Sure, how are you, Freddie? Yeah. It's my nephew. You want to borrow some money? Sorry, I can't hear you. Got a lot of static. Well, that's one way to deal with it. So, like I was saying, wait a minute. Yeah, hello. Andy. Uh-huh. You want to borrow some money? Who is this again? My nephew. Sorry, I don't have a nephew, Andy. Thanks for calling. Well, that's a couple of ways of dealing with it. Look, if you're going to have relatives that are calling you wanting to borrow money from you, or if you want to borrow the money, going to the bank is the best way. How many times have we seen families torn apart because this one loaned money to that one and this one didn't pay it back, and then they don't talk to each other? Stay out of that mess. You know, do yourself a favor. Don't go to your relatives to borrow money, number one, or stay away from your friends. Or if you're going to do it, then do it right. My recommendation is go to the professional people and borrow the money that way. You're not going to have the same grief and the problems that you're going to have versus borrowing it from a friend or a relative. You're never going to pay it back. Rarely. I shouldn't say never, but rarely. Sometimes that works, but generally it doesn't work. So if you're going to borrow from the bank, you want to be prepared in every way. Your first impressions are important. You're going to go to the bank and you're going to talk to your banker. And by the way, we're going to try to get a banker in here in the next episode or so you can hear firsthand from the banker as to what to expect. I'm going to interview him and he'll tell you what he looks for. One of the things I can say about bankers, if you can prove to them you don't need the money because you've got it, they'll give it to you. If you can show you don't have the money, good luck in trying to get it. That's just the way bankers think, especially today. It's very challenging to borrow money today. So, in the continuation with the idea of trying to borrow money, let me tell you what I do when I have people come to me to borrow money from me. And those of you that are already in business, that have had employees come to try to borrow money from you, this is a really cool answer. So I'm kind of excited about sharing it with you. So they come in and they say, hey boss, I'd like to borrow $5,000. And I say, geez, do you ever look at what it takes to borrow money professionally? I'm not a professional in that. That's a profession all by itself. I mean, they have all these forms and credit checks, and they want to look at your bank account. They want to talk to your wife. They do all these things. That takes a professional. I'm not a professional. I don't know how to do that. How could I possibly loan you money? I can't do it. And usually the answer I get is, oh, really? Okay, well, thanks, boss. Appreciate it anyway. So it's a terrific answer. And I'm telling you, if you're going to give anybody money, just make sure that's what it is. It's a gift, because you're probably not going to get it back. And it'll cost you the relationship from both sides, the person that borrows it and the person that gives the money. So if you're going to give them the money, make it a gift. I did that once. I had a friend of mine that came to me, and he was a really loyal guy and a loyal employee in the past. He came to me, got in trouble, and he asked me for some money, and I said, Bobby, I'm not going to give you a loan. I'll just give you the money. I don't expect to get it back. And that way, he and I are still friends today, and that was probably 25 years ago. So loaning money is never a good thing. You want to borrow money for your business, I suggest you go to a bank and you borrow it the right way, or some lending institution. It could be a credit union. If you want to borrow it against your house, that's a lot easier. You can get a second mortgage and so forth. That's kind of a clean way to do it. But outside of that, unless you've already started a business and let's say you want to buy another machine and then the first one's paid off, maybe you can borrow against that piece of equipment. So there's a lot of ways that you can use some form of security to borrow money. But going to your friends to borrow money from your friends, not a good idea. And again, on the other side of that, for those of you that have the money and somebody comes to you to borrow it from them, think about that approach because it's very cool. And it puts them, it stops them dead in their tracks right there. They don't know what to say. They just say, well, okay, boss, well, thanks anyway. And that's the end of it. So I had a relative that came to me and wanted to borrow money once a couple of years ago. And I told him the same thing. And that worked out really well. So he and I are still good friends. And, you know, somehow he made it okay. Don't know if he ever borrowed the money or where he got it from. But I do know this. He's a relative and we're still friends. And I love the guy to this day. So it all worked out. So that's kind of our hint for the day. And at least on this video. And again, we're going to come back with lots of other ones. We're going to address each one of these columns in the next 4 or 5 videos, I think. Right, Jim? Is that what we're going to be coming up with? So anyway, go to YouTube, follow us, tell your friends about us, and just keep on watching us. And please encourage others to keep an eye on these videos and to watch them because we hope that they're going to continue to be helpful for you and for the others that you share it with. So thanks for watching.